So thank you for the opportunity to share with you a project that's been in the making for 3 years now. For some time, Rotary has been looking at how well our structure is fit for purpose 120 years on from when it was first introduced. And in spite of the hard work of many Rotarians, we continue to face challenges such as declining membership, not promoting effectively enough what we do, and that sort of thing. In 2021, we put our hand up and formally requested the RI board to support us to explore a different structure that could enable us to be more effective at addressing challenges and sustaining Rotary for the future. It's interesting that, Paul Harris said about 80 odd years ago that Rotary is an organisation that it should evolve to keep up with the times. And sometimes I suspect he maybe would be a bit disappointed at how little things have changed perhaps in that time. So RI has now given us their support, and we're asking you to support a pilot, not a change, just a pilot to explore, develop and test new ways of doing Rotary appropriate to our part of the world without losing what we value most. So I will go and do the video now. Now, can we hear that?
No, you need to go back to the beginning of your Zoom share, and at the bottom of the screen in the Zoom, there's a little button on the left-hand lower corner that says Share Sound. But you won't find it inside PowerPoint. You have to go back to unshare your screen. And then when you bring up the share button in the overall window, you'll see on the lower left-hand corner something that says Share Sound.
Okay, rightio.
And then share your PowerPoint. It will work then.
Right.
We had the same problem on another club meeting.
Okay, so can we see that? And can we hear that? Excellent.
Rotary has had an enormous impact on Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific Island region over the past century. Rotarians and Rotaractors have served their communities, volunteered, raised much needed funds, applied their leadership skills and made lasting friendships along the way. And now it's time to think about the future and create the Rotary of tomorrow. This presentation's been created to inform you about how you can help Rotary evolve in the Australia, New Zealand and Pacific Island region, or Zone 8, in response to the changing world in which we live. First, I'd like to share a quote from the founder of Rotary, Paul Harris. It's been said that the test of wisdom is its ability to remain relevant and valid over time. Paul Harris understood that for Rotary to remain relevant, it would need to adapt from time to time. So what could the Rotary of the future look like? Through an extensive planning and consultation process involving thousands of Rotarians across the world, Rotary International has identified that for Rotary to flourish in the future, it should be diverse, equitable and inclusive. Many Rotary clubs across our region are well on their way to delivering against this vision, but there's more to be done. To realise this future, Rotary needs to continue to adapt and change. Like many long-standing organisations and institutions, Rotary's facing significant challenges in ensuring future sustainable success. For example, over the past 10 years in our zone, Rotary membership has declined 24%, despite a 20% growth in population. And people don't really understand what Rotary is or what Rotarians do. The image of some kind of club for businessmen may still persist in the eyes of the general public. Or is Rotary just the people behind the local weekend sausage sizzle? Whatever the perceptions that people may have of Rotary, it most likely doesn't match reality. Key challenges Rotary clubs face in our region include ageing and declining membership, attracting and retaining members. This is now a growing challenge in the face of rapidly changing volunteer expectations. As mentioned, the general public has a lack of understanding of Rotary. Our governance structure is considered costly and outmoded. And finally, we don't use technology all that well. But there is something we can do to address these challenges. A regionalisation team's been established to identify objectives and focus areas where Rotary can evolve. Obviously, the goal is to improve some aspects of Rotary while enhancing the positive aspects that matter to all of you, such as community impact and connecting with friends. This project is for Zone 8, which includes Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific region. Led by Rotarians in our region for members and clubs in our part of the world, and supported by Rotary International. Your help is needed to ensure Rotary doesn't just survive, but flourishes as an organisation. This is an opportunity to define a Rotary people want to join, one more valued in our community and more fun to belong to. Rotary International supports Zone 8 undertaking a pilot as one of 2 throughout the world, and the Council on Legislation's recently cleared the path for a pilot in our region. It'll be an inclusive and collaborative exercise in which change will be explored, tested and developed in consultation with you, the members and your club. It's vital for you to have your say and participate in creating tomorrow for Rotary. So how can Rotary change for the better? Based on member surveys and other feedback, 5 objectives have been identified. Better connection, better member and club experience, better governance structure, one Rotary voice, and more relevant leadership opportunities. Working groups have been established to explore each of these objectives. So how can Rotary change? Some ideas proposed are better use of technology and platforms, more direct support to clubs to help them create vibrant and positive environments, the elimination of duplication and cost through streamlining, having one Rotary voice to better engage community, corporates and government, and providing doable and relevant leadership growth opportunities. As you can see, the pilot opportunity is about evolving Rotary to benefit you, the members and your club. It aims to do this by better connecting Rotarians and clubs, by promoting better member and club experiences focused on service and fun, by trialling a streamlined, cost-effective governance structure to increase Rotary's impact, by presenting one Rotary voice to enhance our public image and reach, and by providing more relevant personal development opportunities. So now you're invited to help create tomorrow. Here's an opportunity to trial a new approach, to make Rotary better for you and your club so that you can get on with what's important to you, connecting with each other and creating positive impact in our community. Your opinion matters, and this pilot will not proceed unless you, the members, support it. It's great that Rotary International's given Zone 8 the green light to be one of 2 global pilots for change. All clubs across the region will be asked to vote whether or not to pilot change or remain as we are today. Please vote yes to creating a more sustainable future for Rotary. You probably have questions in response to this presentation, so now is the time to ask them. For more information and to have your say, go to the website. And there's also a fact sheet available that provides more detail.
Okay, so I guess why do we want this pilot? We think that putting a different structure in place and thinking differently about how we operate will enable us to transform Rotary and Rotaract in our region to address the challenges that you heard about in the video. Our structure hasn't evolved with changes in volunteering patterns and the use of technology, and that's something that should be addressed. The RI strategic plan sets out 4 clear goals and priorities that we believe that by aligning ourselves with each of these will remain relevant and attractive as we continue to give service in our communities. We aim to enhance participant engagement through more support for clubs to help them engage and attract and serve their communities. Many of you have been Rotarians for long enough that you've probably been through a couple of occasions where districts have merged because in the traditional Rotary model, I guess, reduce membership, so we'll put districts together and merge them. So what do you end up with? In essence, you're expecting a district governor to look after more clubs, and you're expecting each member of the district team to look after more clubs, which is obviously not as supportive to clubs as a different model perhaps could be. So we established 5 key areas to focus on, which are sitting there in front of you. So to support clubs better, to create new leadership opportunities, to build a stronger unified Rotary brand. Some of you will remember back to when we supported the drought, and Channel 9 did their thing that raised a lot of money, but Channel 9's problem was, well, we want to talk to Rotary, but who do we talk to? Because there isn't in our area one unified Rotary voice that can talk for us. We managed to get that project done anyway, but our structure didn't make it any easier. And the thought also is that a different structure might end up providing a cheap, not as big of an amount in dues as we currently pay as members. So we want to enable our clubs to be vibrant, adaptive and responsive to local and international needs, and to provide them with a more efficient support structure to enable better collaboration and better ways of sharing knowledge and expertise. A new simplified model would give all Rotarians and Rotaractors opportunities to have a direct and meaningful involvement in the development and management of Rotary and Rotaract in our region. As importantly, it would address more directly and more flexibly the expectations of the modern volunteer, our future members. So, for example, as a member, I can choose how I wish to engage with Rotary, whether it's through a club, a project, or a program. I'll have direct access to expertise in our region on any topic. I'll have greater freedom to participate according to my individual circumstances. I can aspire to and directly nominate for any position in the region. I will participate directly in elections for leadership roles. And as I said, a more efficient organisation should mean reduced fees, less admin, etc. So what are we looking at? So we don't have a defined regional structure in place yet, because that would be a little bit presumptuous. However, there are some ideas about where we might start. So we could look at a democratically elected regional council with supporting committees and area leaders. Area leaders is just that's not an official title, it's just a working title at the moment. and the area leaders would be elected by the 10 to 25 clubs that they would support. So you can imagine the struggle it would be to get someone to volunteer to be the head of one of our district committees at the moment, because how are you going to look after 71 clubs? You know, there are a lot of people on the district team who work their butts off to try and achieve that, but it's a big ask. Whereas if we had an area of maybe 15 clubs, then you might much more easily be able to get someone to volunteer to look after membership in a geographical area containing 15 clubs, because you don't have as much travel to do, and you'd be able to provide more personal and more effective support for each club. Anyone can nominate themselves or others for those roles, and we'd be able to get the best resources from our zone to help and support every club. And importantly, looking at terms for those positions of 2, 3 or 4 years. One of the strengths of Rotary sometimes is that you're only in lots of our jobs, whether it's RI president, club president or district governor, for 1 year. So that's a strength in that you can give your all during that year, but then lack of continuity, because your year's up, new person comes along and potentially doing things a little differently. So I know once when I was a club president for 2 years in a row, by the time I got to the second year, I really felt like I knew what the heck I was doing. So what is proposed? So we don't have a final regional structure defined, but we do need to start somewhere. So we're looking at developing and testing a new model that will enable change. Flexible models for membership, so lots of different opportunities. Members and what we do are at the heart of the thinking about a new model. Support will come through area leaders, specialist support, and representative elected regional council with its supporting committees. Now, some would say, well, okay, but you're proposing to put some model in place. And I thought, initially I thought, well, yeah, I can see that point of view, but if all you come up with over 3 years is, well, this is what a new model could look like, then how do you vote for that? What you need to do is to put something in place, get feedback from members, continue to give it a bit of a tweak and an improvement here and there, and then after 3 years, you can see whether it's worked or not, and then you'd be able to vote, do we go in this direction, or do we go back and do things the way we always used to? So here's the first part of the timeline. The thinking started in 2019. In February, we got, in principle, support to go ahead with the whole thing. And sometime next month, and I don't have a particular date for that. I keep on getting asked that question. And I've asked and I don't know the answer yet, but mid-September, clubs will vote. Then in the first 6 months, we'd be looking at selection of the regional office bearers and area leaders. You would still have your district governors in place for each of those years, and there'd be a negotiation in terms of how much they and their teams do and how much the newly elected structure would do. So over the next 6 to 9 months, we'll focus on how we begin the transition to a regional structure, working closely with DGs, and then we'll check out the opportunities. But as I said, DGs will stay in place during that time. So we propose to implement an interim regional council from the 1st of July next year. Governors, as I said, will be involved in deciding the makeup of that council and which functions could initially transfer across to the new model. And we'll monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of the council as we develop towards a final structure to be tested. So Rotary has given us the go-ahead, but the proviso is they've set down some rules. Each club has one vote. If a club for some reason abstains, then that will be considered as a vote no. And then 2/3 majority of clubs voting yes is required for the whole process to go ahead. The vote will be conducted electronically by RI staff at Norwest, so there won't be any intervention by districts. We're engaging with Rotaract clubs, but they won't have a vote at this point in time. We're not even presenting this to Rotaract clubs, although I will be presenting it to the Hills Rotaract Club that I assist in mentoring. So clubs vote first and then the districts. So the choices are, from a club point of view, to explore, develop and test different ways of operating, or not to participate. So what we're encouraging people to do is to think outside the box, challenge the way things have been done, be flexible, embrace change, and I know some Rotarians aren't good at that sometimes. Be proactive, be willing to experiment, and welcome diverse viewpoints. So every step along the way, there'll be opportunities for members to have their opinions known and to be considered. So there is a web address that's got a whole heap of frequently asked questions, fact sheets and all that sort of stuff, including a copy of the video that you saw at the beginning. So if you have any questions, that would be the place that you can start. And you're also able to click on a link there to subscribe and have your say and have the whole thing keep in touch with you to let you know what's going on and to give you the opportunity to comment every step of the way over that period of time. So we'll consider our options for 3 years and decide then, do we go ahead with that or do we stick with what we're currently doing? So all we're voting on next month is, do we go ahead and trial this? We're not voting to make it happen. We're just voting to check it out and see what happens. And then in 3 years' time, clubs will vote again to say, well, did you like what you saw happening? Are you going to vote to continue that or not? Okay.